Okay, so where did we stop? Yeah, can you tell me the page number? Have we finished lesson 2?
Page 15 medium.
Page 15 ya. Okay. See. Okay, thank you. Alright, so bahagian ni, so that's last. Okay, so we're going to continue with the basic reading and writing. So in database, in NoSQL database, yeah, the only thing or the most important, the only thing the only way for for us to do any reading or writing of data into the database must have a key. Okay, you need to have this key. If you don't have the key, then it is impossible to do anything. Yeah, cannot read, cannot write. Right? Okay. Okay, so that's for key value, yeah, which is the basic and the foundation asas untuk all of the different types of NoSQL databases. Now we go to column big table. So with column big table, it says here, it advances the simple nature of key value base. Maksudnya dia lebih better lah. They try to make it better. Okay, because key value ni, we know that in order to maintain the unique value kan as the key, it's very difficult. Sebab macam contohnya, there's so many Muhammad or there's so many Ali contohnya. Okay, so if you put the the keys Ali 1, Ali 2, Ali 3, then finally you're going to run out of numbers. Okay, so they created this column big table to be more sophisticated, yeah, and it does not require a pre-structured table to work with the data. Kalau yang lain tu, we require a pre-structured table. Yeah, maksudnya the RDBMS requires a pre-structured table. With NoSQL, we don't use any table. So it works by creating collections of one or more key value pairs. So when we talk about collections, logically, we know that, okay, it means that it is a group, okay, a group of many key value pairs, meaning before this, in key value pairs, it was just single key value pairs on its own. Now we make a collection, so it means that in between them, the instances is sort of like a linked list. It becomes kind of like a linked list. So it is put together, okay, in a collection. So it looks like a 2-dimensional array All right. Okay, and the group, there are two types of column big table, which is column store, column family store. So these are the industry players. Okay, so now let's take a look at the first one, column store. So with column store, we can divide it further, all right, into position based and row ID based. So for the position based, it means that, okay, of course, definitely it has some reliance. It depends on position, but in what way is it that it is relying on the position? Okay, so let's say you have this data. This data from your RDBMS curve, from your Excel file. And then your boss tells you, okay, we need to store this or model this in column store position base. Column store position base, like for example, Sybase ke, MoneyDB ke, okay? So the trick here, all right, all right, is to be able to know what are the keys and what will make the values. So dekat sini, the first thing is that all of the headers ni, all of the attribute names ni will become our key. So remember, keys must always be unique. Keys must always be unique. It's just like the key in your house. Okay, the key to your room, to the door of your room is different from the key to the door of your parents' room. All right, so it must be unique. So if we take a look at here, all of the headers are unique. So they can become keys. So here they are, okay, they become keys. Yeah. So now what will make the value? So value ni kat mana? So value ni is dalam this type is all of the data within the column. Okay, semua ni. Alright. So dekat sini dia akan jadi a list lah. A list of all of the data with the values within the cell. Setiap satu cell. Alright. So then kat mana datangnya position ni? Position comes when you are searching for a specific record, okay, or instance. Like for example, you want to find James Miller. So James Miller is at the 4th position. Okay, James Miller, 4th position. So you can actually choose you want to, extract as many as you want. Up to phone or just up to phone or even up to email. Okay, so that's how it is. Okay, with column store position based. So far, so good up to this point. Understand why it is called position based? Can see some reaction, people, or some answers?
Okay, done.
All right, excellent. Okay, so next, column store row ID based. Column store row ID based. So now we are focusing on row ID. So here, let's say again, we have this data set. And then for column store row ID based, what happened is that the keys are actually the individual value, the unique values within the cell. So you're going to have a lot of keys. So when, let's say, you have similar, the same value, so it means that the value, 1980s, in the 1980s, all right, where the CIA database, they want to find perpetrators quickly, record information about perpetrators or a suspect quickly. So all of the Jones, they say Jones, so they want to have, quickly go for the Jones, and then they want to retrieve this data, the record, the row ID. So perhaps you would think, why not just use RDBMS? It's because, again, RDBMS requires a lot of joinings, and joinings are expensive. So this is like a small, very niche requirement, like a very specialized requirement that benefited from column store row ID based. Okay, so now let's move on to column family. So when we say family, it means that it's going to be a collection. Okay, again, it's a collection, it's a grouping. Yeah. And it's going to have a different sort of structure compared to the one before, the column table. So let's say we have this data. So we have the city here, the PIN code, the strength, let's say the strength here meaning the number of people, the number of employees, and then the number of projects. Okay, so here, if we take a look closely, we can see that all of the city, okay, naturally, all of the city is going to be the keys. Okay, this one is going to be the key because we've seen this before in the previous example. Okay, this one. So the key was, okay, over here, the key is very unique enough for that specific company to become the key, okay, this information to become the key that is semantic in nature. Semantic, synthetic. A synthetic key. Okay, we've seen it here. So here again, it is being used, right? So ni semua ni the key. And then there's nothing surprising. Tengok dia punya structure, the schema dia, because it is semi-structured in nature. Kita dah tengok sebelum ni, the allergy example, where one record boleh ada an element yang another record does not have. So what we want to focus more over here is the blue boxes here. The blue boxes indicates the column families. So you can see inside here, the element or the members within this family is different from this one. Again, this is the strength. Okay, this is the strength. This is one of the, not the weakness, the advantages of NoSQL. So here for Noida, the important part is the details, which is the number of people and the project. Whereas for Cluj, it is the city and the PIN code. And here for Timisoara and Fairfax, it doesn't matter for them. Okay, so with column families, you can have like a group or a collection of name values that's, for example, it's very extracted together. It's usually requested together, or is usually queried together, or is important for that particular region. So another example here, for example, if you're working for Microsoft, so Microsoft mungkin dia ada region, dia ada branches dekat India, dekat apa tu, US, dekat Malaysia. So dekat Malaysia, we usually kalau employee information dalam the column family, we usually would have the first name, the middle name, the apa tu, gender specification name. Sebab apa tu? Bin binti is not a middle name. It is to show whether we're female or male and also our religion. Okay, so the non-Muslim would be anak perempuan, anak lelaki. Alright, and then we have the father's name, let's say the last name lah. But in US, UK, they have the first name, they have a middle name, which is their own name, and then they have the family name, which is the last name. So if they have Jeremy, Scott, something. So Scott tu is nama dia juga. Dia ada dua nama. Kan? And then for Chinese blood, they have the family name. Okay, Lee, and then two of dia punya own names. So dia punya own name, number 1 and number 2. Like Lee Min Ho, for example. Okay? Alright, same with Chinese. Kan? Jadi when we have something in this kind of situation, it's good, it's beneficial to have this column family store, because we can do a grouping of these name value that is important for that particular region, and all of these information can be placed in a single database. Kalau RDBMS, zaman saya dulu, we had to have different tables for different region. So we have satu table region US, employee juga US, and then we have another region, another table region Asia. example. And then in order to combine this, we have to do what we call something like fragments. Fragmented. Okay, fragments daripada sini masuk sini, fragments daripada sini masuk sini. Tapi kita still very difficult because dia mesti strict schema. Dia kena juga ada some kind of first name, last name. You know, very difficult. Sebab structure dia memang berbeza. And RDBMS, dia tak boleh kalau structure tak sama. So once kalau ada something like this, a NoSQL database, it is more natural. And again, kalau you ada macam ni, dalam RDBMS, you kena buat joins. Di sini, no joins, everything is one place. Okay, and remember, joins are expensive. Okay, sampai sini faham, people? Are you still with me?
Yes, madam.
Okay, lain-lain ni, apa cerita? Ada ke tak ada?
Ada.
Siapa? Ada ya? Okay,
Ada.
alright. Okay, so now, kita pergi kepada document database. Document database. So, data structure punya knowledge ni is really important. Once you tahu data structure, you faham data structure, you can faham the model and you can create systems on top of it. Sebab you kena faham database ni, dia macam kalau rumah, dia pasang pasak tu. You know, the structure of the bangunan tu, dia kena pasang, kalau orang zaman dulu, tiang seri lah apa dia panggil kan, which is the middle tiang tu, to hold everything. So the tiang tu, kalau structure tu tak betul, when you create the system, jadi pelik sangat sistem tu. Ini tak boleh nak masuk, tu tak boleh, susah sangat. That's why the database model is always yang foundation sekali, because it shows the business rules, the business processes. Yang penting, rules lah, biasa rules. Business rules masuk dekat data model. Dan barulah kat atas tu you buat cantik-cantik dia punya system. So sort of like you create the structure, you ada blueprint, architect, okay, then lepas tu you buat dia punya pasak-pasak dia apa semua structure, then baru you pasang, you masukkan, you know, you buat dia punya itulah, dinding dia apa semua, then lepas tu you cat, lepas tu barulah home decor masuk, apa cantik. Tapi dia punya asas kena kuat, kena kuat. Okay, so now let's take a look at document database. Document database ni is known as being the best of both worlds. Ni dunia-dunia apa yang bagus sangat ni? What dunia? Which world? So there are two in databases as usual, RDBMS, which is the SQL, and another one is the NoSQL. So then you say, what is this thing? You know, kan NoSQL nampak macam better daripada RDBMS, kan? Kan? So, dekat sini, there's one thing about RDBMS yang very, very important. Yang very, very good, far better than NoSQL. It's because it doesn't require to do, you know, when you're doing queries, you don't need to have the key. Okay. Sebab tadi kita started all the lesson, alright, by learning about everything about key. Non-SQL requires a key. Not get, not put, not delete, everything. It requires a key. No key, no talk, in other words. However, when we do SQL, like for example here, we do select name, gender from students table with name like Ali, for example. So Ali is not a key, but it is the content within the database. So with SQL, RDBMS, we don't need to have the key. We can still interact with the database. So this is the good part of RDBMS that we want in NoSQL, apart from all of the strength and advantages of NoSQL. Jadi, okay, dekat sini, with document database, it can do that. How? By having metadata. Ni kena faham apa benda metadata ni. And what's the importance of it. Sebab kalau you nak evaluate, you nak evaluate technology, let's say, and the technology is related to data. Kalau you tak tahu the basics concepts, you boleh kena tipu tau. Sebab kalau you tengok konsep tu, benda tu tak ada dalam that product, it's impossible that product can work as what you expect. So itu kena tahu, tu kena ada ilmu. Sebab you semua adalah university graduates. Your primary selling point is your brain, your mind, your knowledge, not your looks, not your sardoness or whatever. Okay, that is secondary, that is a pelengkap. Pelengkap. So kena ada otak, kena ada knowledge, and kena ada of course akhlak. Because akhlak baik, knowledge senang nak dapat. This is how things are. Okay, right? So bila kita tengok kat sini, it has a metadata, and therefore any kind of editing, any kind of manipulation of data, maksudnya updates, it can just wire the content. No need for the key. So document database has this. Yeah, and another thing great about document database is that its unique key can be a simple identifier like string, URI, or path. Mana ada RDBMS yang dia punya primary key dia is a URI or a path. Very difficult nak jumpa. Okay, so in document database, it allows that. So another important information that differentiates, yang membezakan between RDBMS dengan SQL and NoSQL that you must understand. Study smart. Kalau benda tu sama, you can just ingat satu. Kalau ada 10 kambing yang sama, semuanya putih, you ingat seekor satu dia putih. But if you ada 10 kambing and then you ada 3 kambing hitam, 10 kambing putih, 3 kambing hitam, contohnya. So you ingatlah, satu putih, satu lagi hitam. So you don't have to remember everything. So you save up memory dalam you punya mind. Dalam you punya mind. Okay, it's sort of like indexing punya cara lah, indexing kan. Okay, so over here, we're going to learn MongoDB because they're considered yang paling well sorted after. Maksudnya, kalau you ada MongoDB dalam you punya resume, orang suka. Orang suka nak ambil. Okay, and lagi satu, dia free. Jadi itu lagi, most companies suka ada MongoDB ni. Okay, now, document database, let's take a look inside it. Kalau kita tengok dekat luar je, kita tak akan nampak. Okay, so we need to go into it, inside, tengok betul-betul. Alright, so document is the most basic unit of data. Right, so saya nak tanya. For RDBMS, what is the most basic unit of data?
Table.
A table? Good try. Lagi? Some more? Any more other understanding? We have table 1. And put here at the chat. Satu table. Okay, lagi?
Parameter key.
Come again? Okay, tolong ulang. Saya tak dengar tadi. Yes, lagi? Selain daripada table, apa lagi yang you rasa is the smallest unit, the most basic unit?
Key, madam.
Key. Okay, letak sini. Key. Okay, lagi.
Attribute, madam.
Saya tak tekan lagi lah. Okay. Yang ketiga, attribute. Okay. Lagi. Satu, table. Dua, key. Tiga, attribute. Ada lagi? Mari, cuba. Cuba kita tengok siapa yang kena.
Relationship.
Relationship. Empat, relationship. Okay, lagi.
Input, madam.
Ada input 5 input. Okey, lagi.
Rata-rata.
Nombor 6 metadata. Lagi.
Row and column.
Row and column. Lagi. Lagi. Belum sampai 10 pun. Masih ada lagi.
Record.
Nombor 8 record. Ada lagi. Ada yang ke-9.
Data type, doctor.
Data type 9. Data type. Okay, last one 10. Ada lagi? Tak ada. Sampai 9 je. Okay. So we have first table, second is key, third is attribute, fourth is relationship, five is input, six metadata, seven is row and column, eight is record, and nine is data type. Okay, so if we take a look at here, right, we have document is the most basic unit of data, okay, of data. So when we talk about data, the data must be about something, okay, in the real world. In the real world. So like you, I, semua ni benda-benda objects in the real world. We call it objects in the real world. Itulah ni, in the real world. Jadi kalau objects in the real world, it could be you punya cat, it could be you, it could be university. Okay, all of these things that are entity are basically objects in the real world. In other words, they are entities. Okay, so bila entity ni maksudnya kita nak store dia punya information dia. Jadi kalau kita tengok dekat entity RDBMS, okay, kita ada table. Entity akan jadi table kan? Entity ER diagram tu, so entity akan jadi table. Lepas tu the relationship ERD entity relationship diagram, it is actually keys daripada satu table, ada primary key dengan foreign key. So kat sini ada primary key, sini ada foreign key. Oops, foreign key. PK, FK ni yang is the one that are relationship lah. So satu table ni ada relationship dengan this table. Okay, alright. So kalau kita tengok table, dalam table you still ada all of this information dalam dia. Kita ada records kan? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so kalau kita tengok table, kita kata table, dalam table ada something. So it cannot be the most basic unit of data. Okay, so table kita rule out. This is cara process of elimination. Okay, next is key. Kalau kita tengok key ni dia satu je ni. Dia maksudnya student ID contohnya. So dia satu je duduk kat sini. Jadi kalau dia student ID 20261234 contohnya. So this one, is it enough to actually show information tentang object in the real world? So saya ada cuma student ID aja, which is sama key ni sama dengan attribute lah. Attribute key saya semua kat sini. Satu je. Saya ada cuma student ID 2026 and then nama dia Ali. I still wouldn't know more about this person. Jadi it's not complete lagi. So key and attribute out. Tak boleh. So relationship is just this one. Foreign key and primary key. So does it say anything? Does it show or describe or have any information about the basic unit of data, which is the object? Tak ada. Okay, so but it's more of between objects, between entities. So out juga. So kalau input ni berkaitan dengan input, process, output. So right now we are actually dealing with the database. The database. So it is input, but then it is too general to show any objects in the real world. Out juga. Then metadata. So metadata ni apa? Metadata ni is data about data. So our data, for example, student ID. Ada student ID. Kita ada first name. Kita ada last name. Jadi data about our data of student ID, first name, last name ni is actually saying that student ID is actually, let's say, an integer. And the integer has to be only 4 characters. First name, it is a varchar or a string lah, let's say. And we allow it to only ada 50 lah characters. So nama panjang-panjang tu kan kalau nama dia sampai 10 tu tak mat. So this one sama dengan the first one. 50. Okay, so this is the metadata, which is the data about the data. So when you take a look at student ID, you take a look at first name, last name, you know, oh, student ID is an integer. First name is a varchar, it's a string. Last name is also a string. Okay, so it still doesn't show, doesn't tell you about the object itself. So therefore, strike out. Okay, next one is row and column. So row and column. So when we say row and column, it describes the table. So this is similar to table tadi. So inside, the table itself is not small enough, not basic enough, because dalam table ada banyak lagi content dia. Okay, and then we say record. Okay, we say record. So a record is this one line, which is student ID, first name, last name. So dekat sini, if I were to find information about one of you, let's say Okay, Ahmad Zamir bin Azwa, for example. So I will have dia punya student ID dia 2022 contohlah. Senior dia kan. So Zamir bin Azwa, for example. Zamir, okay. And then last name Azwa, that's the name. So basically, I would be able to know that, okay, this is information about one object in the real world. Okay, so this is the answer, which is the record. The basic unit of data in a relational database management system is a record because it refers to the object in the real world, and this object ni yang kita nak store information dia dalam database kita. Data type doesn't show anything, it's just integer, varchar, char, etc., double float. Do you understand, people? Are you following the discussion or the explanation? Okay, Syarul Ikhwan faham? Okay. Lala ni faham ke? Are you here with us or you are far away? Okay. So you guys need to think. Bila nak tahu sesuatu tu, you kena think. Kalau ada banyak possibilities, you have to use the process of elimination. The process of elimination requires you to have a basic understanding knowledge. Itu yang penting tu. Kalau saya guna ni macam ni. Kalau this one, dia begini. So dia kata bukan basic unit sahaja. Dia kata basic unit of data. So kita ada database ni bukan saja-saja je ada database. Kita ada database because kita nak store information about things in the real world. Objects ni, contoh manusia, contoh kucing, contoh companies, contoh negara, contoh apa lagi. Tu semua tu, entities tu lah. Those are objects in the real world. Itu yang kita nak simpan. Jadi kalau the basic unit of data, it is the record. Dalam document database, it is the document. Okay, it is the document. So a document, okay, so documents are ordered sets of key value pairs. Kita tahu, in NoSQL database, everything is key value. So document database mesti ada key values juga. But dia tak boleh just key value sahaja, it also has the name value pairs bahagian value ni. So kita tengok example sini. This example shows that ada satu document sebab ada satu curly brace. So this one is the key, this one is the value. Tapi dalam value ni, of course ada name value sebab kalau contoh macam tadi, Zamir Azwa. This is first name, this is last name. So takkan first name satu je, 2022 student ID, dia punya key, contohnya. First name Azwa, tu je. Zamir aja. But which Zamir? There's so many Zamir. So we need more information. So that's why kita ada name values. So this will become the name value. This will become the key. Ni is the value. Dalam value ada multiple name values. Just like ada multiple attributes. So we have here and here. The name, the value. The name, the value. Okay, faham tak? Nampak benda ni document database, don't get it confused. Okay, so now kita nak tengok components. What makes up this NoSQL database? So remember, database ni everyone is just like a fridge. Fridge ni kan tempat paling kita suka sebab dia contain makanan. Jadi kat atas ni, let's say this is the freezer. Frozen, semua frozen sini. Dekat bawah ni dia ada chiller lah, tempat yang vegetables tu, chiller. Kat tengah ni segala benda lain which is yang cold, cold. Tempat yang sejuk. Fruits mungkin kat situ, susu kat situ. Okay, so database ni, dia punya compartments tu, dia ada compartments ni lah, frozen, chiller semua. All you have to do, It's sama macam you pergi beli groceries, lepas tu you nak masukkan dalam fridge. So you kena masukkan the right item at the right place. Chicken apa semua janganlah letak dekat chiller atau kat sini. Nanti dia busuk cepat. So masuk dekat tempat frozen ni. Ice cream pun letak kat tempat frozen. Vegetables letak kat chiller. Okay. Jadi dekat sini, the database ni is the whole thing, the fridge, the entire fridge. Collections ni will be the different compartment. Okay. Documents will be the different items that you buy. So dekat collections ni, for example, if the collection is about students, so all of the documents here must be about students jugalah. So adalah satu ni tentang Zamir, the second one is Syahmi, the third one is Irdina. Okay. And kalau collection tu is about lecturers, so tak bolehlah letak Zamir, Irdina semua kat situ. Kenalah letak saya. Kan? Siapa lagi? Syamimi. Okay? Dr. Syamimi, etc. etc. Okay? So barulah kita letak the item, the correct item at its place. Okay? Right? Faham sampai sini, people? Jangan tertidur tengah hari ni dah mula dah panas ni, mula dah dengan tu dia lapar, sabar sabar sekejap lagi kita makan. Okay, so kalau kita nak tengok the equivalence, remember, increase you punya vocabulary every day. Tiap-tiap hari belajar something new, especially about words. So kalau tak tahu words tu apa, pergi tanya kita punya good friend, the dictionary. Equivalence. What is this equivalence? Equivalence is the condition of being equal or equivalent in value, worth, function. Maksudnya setara, setara. So therefore, the equivalence of a database dekat NoSQL ni sama juga dengan relational database, kita panggil ni juga. Maksudnya satu tempat macam fridge tu lah, satu tempat kita store semua data. Okay, for collections, equivalence dia sama dengan table dalam RDBMS. Documents sama dengan rows ataupun records. Okay, so jadi maksudnya sekarang ni ada 72 students in my class right now. So in order for me to create a NoSQL database, I must create 72 documents. Okay, understand? Understand? Okay. So now, synonyms. 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 So what in the world is synonyms? Synonym. Okay. So a synonym is a word or phrase that means exactly or nearly the same as another word or phrase in the same language. Kena same language. For example, shut the door ataupun close the door. Tutup pintu, rapatkan pintu. Okay. So it's synonymous. Jadi kalau misalnya you go nanti pergi baca technical report, white papers, dia ada benda-benda called buckets. It is actually specifically database. No, it is specifically a NoSQL database. It is never an RDBMS. But the word database can be used as an RDBMS for RDBMS or for NoSQL. But buckets is specifically NoSQL database. The next one is type signifiers. Ini biasa ada dalam apa tu? Dia punya manual, dia punya tu lah white papers technical dia tu. Okay. So you kalau misalnya you cengang-cengang lagi benda ni susah lah. Sebab bila you kerja, you nak cepat-cepat solve a problem. People pay you to solve problems, not create problems. Jadi, the faster you are able to understand the problem, find the solution, the better you are. The more that you're going to get paid. Right? So, bila macam tu, if you understand these terms ni, senang. Senang. Okay. Documents macam rows or records, attribute names, columns, index still sama. Alright, so let's move on to the next one. So here what is being shown is basically two documents because of the two pairs of curly braces, meaning there are two documents. And these two documents, because it is of the same type, okay, it is placed in the same collection. So kalau you tengok clearly kat sini, it has a key and these are its values. Saya kena beli stylus lah baru senang sikit. Dekat mouse ni susah. Okay, so key value. So dalam value ni ada name value. Name value. Okay, name value. Alright. So dekat sini kita dah tahu NoSQL database, the foundation asas dia is basically semi-structured data. And I've shown you early in the first lesson, in the first class, that when you're having semi-structured data, the schema is also semi-structured. I mean, not it's flexible, dynamic. So allergy, example of allergy. Jadi it's not a surprise if one of the record guna ISBN, another one guna ASIN. Doesn't matter. Another one guna title, another one guna item. It doesn't matter. That's why NoSQL is flexible and is gaining more and more interest. Alright? So because these two are basically about books. Yeah, this one is a solid book. This ASIN is also a book, tapi some countries they pakai ISBN, some countries pakai ASIN. So because of that differences, okay, slight differences, it's of the same type. It could, it can be placed in the same collection, which is books. Okay, which is books. Okay ke? Alright, so let's move on. Kau apa ni? Pukul 11. Okay, ada dalam 25 minit lagi, right? Dan boleh pergi makan lunch. Okay, this one is really important. Okay, I put an asterisk here. So this is a very unique character of a NoSQL database. This unique character is a game changer. Okay, game changer. So kalau I'm sure you guys tahu maksud game changer kan? Game changer. Ni kan term-term Gen Z kan, I think. An event, idea or procedure that affects a significant shift in the current way of doing or thinking about something. Okay, game changer. So, kalau kita tengok kat sini, again, you must identify the punya parts biar kita tengok. So, kita nampak ada curly brace, a pair of curly braces. So, maksud ada satu document. This is what we're looking at, a single document. And it has a key and it has a value which is, and dia ada dalam value ni ada two name values. One is title, another one is author. So, bila kita tengok kat sini, we see that the author has these square brackets. Square brackets. And these square brackets is an indication of apa? Data structure.
Array.
Array. Kalau tak tahu ni memang tak patut. Kan? So this is an array. So when array, it means that it has multiple values. Okay, multiple values for the same name, okay, or attribute. So why is this a name changer? I mean, game changer. A game changer. Why? Because if let's say you want to design or model this in a relational database, you have to create two tables. One is for the title, another one is for the author. Because the title is only one, but there are two authors. And therefore, you have to create a relationship which is a one-to-many. So this is going to result in a join. So why is a join not that pleasing or not that favorable. Kenapa join ni macam kita nak elak-elak je kalau boleh?
Expensive.
Expensive, correct. Okay, expensive. Nanti kalau misalnya you ada banyak joins, tables nak kena joins, your CPU is going to rise. Okay, banyak nak kena pakai resources. Slow down. So kita tak nak expensive. You remember balik the analogy, the use case, the contoh, saya nak bagi you coklat, you semua kat tempat-tempat yang berbeza, saya kena drive dengan minyak sekadar nak naik, okay, drive di satu tempat ke satu tempat untuk bagi coklat. As compared to kalau you duduk semua kat DK, semua dekat faculty, DK1, saya pergi satu tempat dan saya bagi coklat, everybody dapat. Okay, so it's the same example, right? So over here, okay, with document database, what happens is that we will be able to eliminate this. We can create this list, and the thing dengan list ni, specialnya, is because it is a data type. So apa maksud dengan data type lah, apa semua, you mesti tahu data type maksud apa kan? So dengan data type ni, maksudnya the list ni bukannya dekat coding tau. Dia bukan dekat coding. Okay, dia bukan dekat coding. Saya nak delete ni. Okay, contohnya kalau RDBMS ini database. Dalam ni you ada table. And then lepas tu bila you nak guna, you nak create a list. And this is programming language punya list, Java ke Python ke, you kena tarik, for example you nak buat list of students, satu Ali, lepas tu Abu, and from here baru boleh you buat list dia, Ali, Abu. But this list is dekat programming language, you punya list. Dia dekat luar daripada database. Dalam database, dia tak rupa macam tu. It's not in a list. But here, in NoSQL document ni, everything is dalam database tu. Dalam ni. That's why it's called a data type. So, kena faham apa maksud data type ni. When you talk about data type, it is dalam the database itself. Macam you punya jantung dalam badan you. Internal. Okay. Yang ni is external. RDBMS, this one is external. You kena tarik dia keluar baru masuk dalam list. Instead, you ada dekat dalam ni. So this is the one that makes NoSQL database very fast and very flexible. Ni dia punya advantage dia. Alright, faham people? Dalam kelas ni ada 249, 230. Okay, yang non-computing ni faham ke? Right. Yang computing ni pun saya assume boleh faham lah. Sebab you dah memang orang computing kan. This is you buat hari-hari. So you should be more proficient in this. If you feel that you masih lagi macam, I think macam tak lah, then it is a clear indication you need to increase your knowledge. Bila kita rasa kita kekurangan, jangan kita terus give up. It is just indication that currently, sekarang saya tengah tak tahu. Tapi kalau saya ambil tahu, saya make an effort to tahu, by tomorrow, by next week, saya dah tidak lagi takut. Dan yang saya tidak tahu, because saya dah tahu. It's just a temporary condition that you tak tahu. But you have to make an effort, spare the time, okay, to ambil tahu so that you dah tak lagi tak tahu. You dah jadi tahu. You get out of your situation. Okay? You got out of your situation. Alright. What time is it? Okay. Use cases. Use cases ni, which as I mentioned before this, use cases ni adalah something whereby in what situation that this NoSQL, for example, can be applied. Application lah, where can it be applied? So, for example, here the first one is event logging. So, logging of events. So, biasanya sometimes commonly dia akan ada kaitan, kita nak relate dengan for example the URI. So, kita nampak tadi URI path string can become the key in document database. So no worries, no worries. No wonder it is, suitable for event logging. And then event logging ni cepat banyak, and also it can be different from one event to another event. So kalau nak pakai RDBMS, again dia balik-balik kepada strict schema. Schema dia strict sangat. Okay, and then next you can see blogs and website content management. Kita tahu dia memang very semi-structured in nature. So NoSQL memang semi-structured pun. And then lepas tu you have e-commerce application shopping cart. Ni lagi lah. This is an example of how list data type is very useful in document database. So biasalah shopping cart. Shopping cart you have biasalah ada apa ya? Ada macam dah lama pula tak beli barang. Kacang kan? Raya kan? Tudung, baju raya 1, baju raya 2 contohlah. Okay, so senang. Kalau ada list tu, list data type boleh terus masuk dalam sini, stored inside the database, and when retrieved as is. Okay, all right, and then of course web analytics, real-time analytics. This one, okay, is about what kind of questions you want to ask. Data dia very easy to pull, as is. Okay. So that is the use cases for document database. So before we go on to graph, are you still with me, people? Do you understand? Do you have any questions? All right. Okay, so now graph database. This is the most sophisticated NoSQL database. Okay, sometimes when it's so sophisticated, so specialized, very specialized, it is created to be for a specific purpose. Dia tak very general. This very khas, very specialized. Especially istimewa, tapi specialized ni khusus, specific macam tu, right? So in a graph database, it's not this graph, but it is a graph that looks like this. Okay, so you have ages, you have nodes, and you have properties. So basically these are ages, these are nodes, and properties are key value pairs dekat node dan juga dekat relationship. Hebat tak hebat? Relationship dekat RDBMS, we only have the description. For example, one student has many lecturers, for example. Okay, ataupun one lecturer has many lecturers, is a many to many. Many lecturers has many students. Itu je. It doesn't have any properties to describe the has itself. Okay, so with graph database, it has that. So very, very hebat, very nice. Okay, so because of its nature, very specialized nature, the relationship of graph, of graph databases usually define social connectivities. Okay, for example, people who likes this product usually like that product. People yang contoh Mary is friends with George. George suka pizza, so usually Mary suka pizza juga. Okay, something like that. Macam kat Facebook lah. Kan? The concept apa, theory of six. So kalau you satu manusia kenal six people. So bila you have information, you're going to share it with six people. And each person from six ni will have six others and six others and six others. So that's how the science of viral come into place. Right? So graph database looks like this at the very top. Dekat sini, this is how it looks like. But if you were to take a look at the whole structure of it, the components, at the very top is a graph, which is satu je, dia tak ada banyak-banyak. And then bawah dia, subset dia ataupun dia punya kalau inheritance tu bawah dia kan, the child dia tu. And numerous nodes, multiple nodes, which is organized based on the relationships, and both nodes and relationships have properties. Okay, so kalau kita tengok kat sini, this is very, very useful. Kenapa? Because it is able to answer a lot of questions and give us better idea of Bob and Alice. So sekarang ni there are two people. You have Bob and Alice, okay, and you have one thing, which is a group. Okay, two people and one group. All three are actually real world objects because chess group is also a real world object. It has people, members in it, etc. So now we want to know what's the relationship between Bob and Alice. So it seems that because of these two, ni dua ages ni, we know that Alice and Bob knows each other. It's not just like macam saya kenal Siti Nurhaliza, Siti tak kenal saya pun. So the age will look like this. Ini saya, ini Siti. So it will be just one way. Saya kenal dia, dia tak kenal saya. But this one we know, they know each other. Alright, that's good. Yeah. But then after that, we want to know, dia ni dah kawan lama ke? So we see that they know each other since 2001. And Alice said that she knows Bob since the 3rd of October 2001. Bob says that he knows Alice since the next day, which is the 4th of October. So it could be that Alice on the 3rd, Alice saw Bob first and knows that, oh, that is Bob. But then only the next day that they got to be introduced to each other and Bob got to know Alice. Okay, so kita boleh agak, we can sort of like say there is a possibility, ada kebarangkalian mereka ni berkenalan at a social event. Okay, via a friend perhaps. So macam mana kita nak refute, kita nak kata no, tak betul, ataupun kita nak sokong apa yang kita kata. So another person will say, can't you see that they are both members of the chess group? It could be that they met each other at the chess group. So then when we take a look at the information here, Alice becomes a member of the chess group in 2015, whereas Bob became, became member in 2011, which is years after Alice. All right, so it means that they did not get to know each other at the chess group, but it could be that Alice influenced Bob to join the chess group. And Alice and Bob is of different ages, and they are not siblings. They've got it ready because they got to know in 2001 and 2000 and 2001. Okay, 4th, 3rd, and 4th of October. So they're not siblings. They are social friends. They met at a social event, and most likely there's a probability Alice influenced Bob to join the chess group. So we are able to create this whole understanding about Bob and Alice. If they are, let's say, our customers, we can know that, okay, since Bob is also quite close to Alice because he also likes chess, so we can actually sell products that Alice bought to Bob also. Maybe a chess set, maybe they like games, board games, maybe they are, if Alice also bought something like camp items, we can also sell to Bob camp items. Most likely that they are quite close. Understand, people?
Betul. Dah tu termute.
Okay. All right. Okay, thanks for that. Okay, so dekat mana ya? Saya termute. Yang sini okay Ke mana?
Tadi.
Ya ni.
Sebelum tu.
Sebelum ni dekat sini. Dekat sini saya sampai mana?
Ini yang
Ni dah sudah Dah sudah ya ni. Settle lah. Belum lagi?
dah.
Ini dah sudah. Okay. Alright, so kat sini. Okay, kat sini ni kita, the next lesson 3 ni, we're going to learn about the model. Model ni sama macam blueprint lah. Kan biasa kita tengok blueprint arkitek, engineer kan. Kita nak tengok apa ada dalam NoSQL database ni. Alright. So, bila kita nak buat the modeling ni, when we do the modeling, we are so used to relational modeling. Jadi, macam mana and how is it that relational modeling is different from NoSQL data modeling? So, with relational modeling, we are focused more on the entities. Okay, we focus more on the entities. Biasalah kita akan kata, kita akan cari, information apa yang ada? Student ID. Okay, student ID, first name. Okay, IC number, for example, gender. Right, so all of this information we are more concerned about what information that we can store inside the database. Why do we do that? Because we are doing queries lepas tu. So what in the world is this query? Biasa kita kata query. So macam terima je lah nama dia query. But query has a meaning. Query ni is actually a question. Jadi maksudnya bila kita buat query tu, we are actually asking. Kita question the database. Hey database, you ada tak information ni? Hey database, you ada tak this and that? So therefore, dekat sini, the theme of relational modeling is that what answers do I have? you are designing the blueprint for RDBMS to have answers to the queries ni lah. Yang later ni dia akan ada query. But we don't really think about the query. Kita tak fikir pun questions tu. We just focus more on apa data kita ada so that we can answer those queries. So we will focus more on the answers, which is the data. Okay. So in contrast, bezanya dengan NoSQL is that with NoSQL, it is application specific. So macam yang tadi ni lah. From this, if you have a NoSQL database, yeah, you want to know more about relationships of, let's say, your customers or your students. Okay, so then you start creating a graph database of your students yang ada dalam university or that school. So there's Alice, there's Bob, there's chess group, etc. Right? So because the trigger, the motivation is because you want to ask questions like, what's the relationship between Alice and Bob? So that's why the theme, the main design theme, dia is more of what questions do I have? Apa soal-soal I nak tanya ni? Daripada situ baru you fikir, okay, because I want to know more about relationships and connectivities, therefore I should use the graph database. If I want to know more about different transactions, contohnya ataupun shopping carts, orang ni dia beli berapa banyak produk today kat Shopee, for example. So that one I should go and do document database because document database has the list data type yang macam array tu. Okay, faham ke people up to this point? Alright, Zul Syahmi, faham? Lain ni? Faham ke? Tidur ke? Makan ke? Alright. Okay, bagus. Alright, so sebab dah 11:30, so kita continue next week boleh
Boleh ada.
Alright, okay. So see you next week, insyaAllah. Have a good day, people. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you,
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you,
Thank you, Doctor.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.